Well, you know, old George made a lot of money on this latest stock market plunge, and I made a little bit. I kind of figured something was going to happen in October because of, well, just it's. Let me say this. I acted upon it, but I didn't make no short. Maybe enough, almost enough to buy the flagpole. How about that? But the thing is, the flagpole I've been talking about buying on my other videos. Um, so the thing is, though, in October, that's a typical month. And every October this doesn't happen, though. But October is a typical month where you have a severe stock market turn down. But we're about 10 years out, almost 9, 10 years out. Typically, the period of cycle when you have 7 to 9 or 10 years, about roughly right. But the other side of it is too, I don't think they want the incumbent party, who's the president, to have a lot of candidates in the Congress and the House of Representatives and Senate that'll support him. So, people like Soros have been actually supporting other people, and unfortunately, the things that Malcolm X warned about over 50 years ago about, a guy like this, Soros, putting up money to people, that certain people would vote for, and it's a scam, the people are still falling for that same scam, right? You get around what I'm saying. So that's the gist of it right there. I think I personally warned on another video, and I didn't really monetize that video. I don't know why they didn't monetize it, but I put down that MAGA was a psyop. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. And the reason I'm saying this, um, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to brag or nothing about anything, but I do have a head for seeing some of the shrewdest games that go on. If you want to give me a Blake, totally unrelated an unrelated example, but maybe obliquely related to how shrewdness works. Even during the Vietnam War, a lot of people say we won all the battles, but we didn't win politically, or we didn't meet our political objectives. I know in reality we did meet our political objectives, because what the objectives was to teach the middle class American public that it's impossible to defeat communism or stop the defeat of communism. That was part of the objective. We weren't supposed to win, and it was supposed to be a psychological blow to the American public. I think everybody getting on board and getting behind Trump is going to be a psychological blow to people who want to make America great. That's what I think is being set up. But, I'm going to tell you, the solution is not to worship a leader. That's why I would really, even though I couldn't stand, it's not that I couldn't stand her. I know she's a crazy witch. I wasn't going to vote for her. But Trump was pretty screwed up. But as things go sailing along on economy still, like old girl here out in the desert, we're going to kind of uncharted territories. Like old girl doesn't really know where the hell she's going. We're going to uncharted territories in debt. And I'm going to emphasize a major point on this, because debt is what's going to actually kill the dollar and make all commodities worth a lot more money, whether it's food or oil or anything. I mean, it could be copper, zinc, nickel, lead, you name it, but also silver. And silver is going to take a life of its own and have a very erratic ride upward. You're never going to be, well, if you get real lucky, you'll guess the top, but it's going to has a lot more to go. Wall Street, I think, is in the evacuation mode right now. Most people actually that are really in the know in this city probably have second homes in Montana with underground fortresses and stuff. I swear to God, if they ever see, things are going really bad. Because what really happens, to tell you the truth, if you're looking at conflicts and wars, I'm not talking about conspiracy theories here. I'm talking about reality. Economic problems actually lead to conflicts. That's what leads to wars. Wars for resources. Last man standing is the leader. They run this whole show and they call all the shots. Actually, the name Wall Street was actually literally named for a wall that was used to defend the city. believe it or not. And the city's probably going to need to be defended sometime in the future. It's going to get that radical. But not just the American markets are going to go down. It's going to be all the markets globally. There's been, a lot of debt throughout all the nations, and it's deliberate. If you want to own an individual, get them in debt. If you want to do a hostile takeover of a company, get the company upside down with, the debt to asset ratio, and you can do the hostile takeover. If you want to bring all nations into, a supranational global government, whatever, like even if you just say there's going to be, in other words, if there's a debt crisis, right now the EU looks like it's on the ropes. But if there's an international debt crisis, the EU could be brought back through another financial arrangement as a remedy to fix the debt crisis. See, that's really how you can make things. You can draw that. You can make that spider web fall over all the nations. But it looks like what I think is going to happen though, through all this, when this happens though, is that you're going to see all commodities take off, and gold is going to be a safe haven. But since gold is going to be a safe haven, that commodity, it's commodity and also a true asset, right? It's truly money. It's going to go up, and since silver's attached to gold, pretty much, it's going to go up also. But really, where silver's going to go up the most is if there's more, oil goes up, and you can see oil's been going up due to tensions in the Middle East, right? It's been going up. The WTI, the oil's finally over 70 a barrel. But I personally think oil's going to go up to 200 a barrel. I said this years ago. People are laughing at me, but it's like it's going to happen. It's not going to stay there. It's going to super spike, and then they're going to have to go on to new technologies. But part of the reason it's going to super spike is actually to give a last gasp to the dollar, because since oil is priced in dollars, if the oil price is much higher, it's going to create more of a demand for dollar and keep the dollar up for a little longer. But eventually, that's not the plan. The overall plan is to actually get rid of the dollar and have a new global currency based upon, who the hell knows, to tell you the truth. I personally think like Bitcoin and things like that, that is going to be the type of money that the global planners want. A lot of people think they're fighting the system, but I think that's the type of money they really want to use. It's going to be digital currency all the way. So, I don't know how that's going to work with silver, though. I mean, at one point in time, you're just going to have to get rid of the silver and buy something else. Probably one of the best bets is land. As long as we still got private property rights, that's the other thing, too. You really don't know. Because as this keeps continuing on and on, people as a whole are going to be losing all their rights. That's really the game. The game is the oligarchs want to own everybody and everything, all for themselves. They want unbridled power. That's really what the game is. So you might want to invest in a panhead chopper too. Who knows? That might not be bad. As long as you get one with an S&S top end on it, so it lasts a lot longer. And the oiling system to the top end has been modified so that the valves and the rockers last a lot longer. Not like on the original ones, but I think that some of the problems that we're having are very, very obvious in that, it's been repeated over history. When you look at the life, how an empires go, or how societies go, and how they're in their last decay, and, at the end of a society or an empire, how things really are, what they rate as the most important. Like today, we're into so much fluff and nonsense with the arts and the entertainment. Like I'm not, I don't really, some of these, like some of these shows like Ellen and Oprah and stuff. I mean, I never watched them. I don't know these people would never make a quarter if I was the average listener in the United States. But I think eventually that, it's coming full circle that people are just going to have to get down to the nuts and bolts of everything. That's one of the reasons. I personally think silver's, there was awakening on the medical side to it, that it helps the body produce stem cells, and it's an antimicrobial, that also it could be a disinfectant, even topically, not just on the body, but also in your kitchen, your bathroom. You know, everybody'd have a few ounces of silver, or want to have it to make, the colloidal ionic silver, as just even as a household disinfectant. But you know what the problem is? There isn't enough of it to go around. But the thing is, the word isn't out there about what it really does. Everything's advertising. Well, that's why advertising's on YouTube too. I mean, everything's advertising. If you get people's focus in on something, they buy. You could have the best product in the world, or this thing could be the best thing that there is ever. But if people don't know about it, or people aren't conditioned to keep seeing it, it's not going to sell. And that's really the problem with silver, because there's no real financial incentive behind, like, say, the medical community to push it. They're not going to make a profit on it, because it's, it can actually replace a lot of antiseptics and things like that. Even just topical antiseptics. They're not going to want to do that. It's not profitable. Now, I want to go over something here, because this is going to be very pertinent, because we're going to be coming up to the debt implosion in the United States. I mean, yeah, I know. Look, I'm not really against Trump, but I don't really think either this guy is a pawn of the the real powers. He might be going along with it something. I think he's the best you can hope for. He's better than anybody that's been president for like gazillion years. You know what I mean? Probably since Truman, maybe. He was pretty legit. Despite he was being unpopular, he was probably pretty legit. But I wanted to go over something, because this is going to really be, an eye opener. Because one of the reasons we're going to go under in the United States financially is because the nation's in debt. It's like, no matter what, and we also don't have very good transparency in government. You heard about Rumsfeld years ago, Donald Rumsfeld, and the missing $4 trillion in the Defense Department budget, and recently other monies like that missing. Well, this was actually in the Confederate Constitution way back. Confederate's a dirty word today. It's like, but the real reason they hate the money powers, hate this, and they throw all this other stuff, dirt on them, and so you really don't look at the real issues. You got to look at what they actually embodied in law. In their Constitution, it was the same as the U.S., but they added some things. Line item veto for the president. In other words, cut spending. What's going to happen today? U.S. is going under because of spending. Limits on spending on infrastructure. That was in the Confederate. That was one of the changes. In other words, it was all the same, but they added these things. U.S. Congress can't forgive debts. In other words, you can't forgive debts for foreign aid. You can't forgive debts for, like, trouble asset relief program, and maybe you couldn't even have a trouble asset relief trouble asset relief program, because what was the authorization that Congress can do that? Fiscal responsibility, to appropriate more money. You just didn't have to have a simple majority in the House of Representatives, in the Senate. You got to have 2/3. So how much less money we'd be spending today in the government? Now you might say, oh, that's bad. But then again, I don't think it doesn't go to, like, I know the conservatives always think it's going to welfare and food stamps, but it's really not. It's going to over-bloated military-industrial complex. We don't even get what the hell we pay for defense, to tell you the truth. No omnibus spending bills. This is where they compromise with all the, one guy compromises with another guy on the opposite side of the aisle. You want this for your programs, I want this for my programs. Let's throw it all in the same bill. This way, it'll have, you'll vote for it and I'll vote for it, and we all got our money. But what that leads to? Debt. It makes the government upside down, and the money's always owed to somebody, and that's really the hidden hand that's behind the governments. Who owns the debt? 1 6-year term for the president. That eliminates a lot of garbage with, people worried about getting reelected, because, I'm in my 3rd year, I got to get reelected. I'm gonna be out there campaigning in my last year. This way you got 6 years. You're not going to be around after that. You're done. You can do whatever you need to do. And then easier to fire government leeches, which is, in other words, holdovers from previous administrations that say the guy was in there 6 years, he wanted to put a whole bunch of people, bureaucrats in that they thought like him. The next guy could say, well, I don't like that. You know, the next guy elected by the people, that is, would say, I don't like these holdovers from the last administration. You can get rid of them. You know, you'd say, well, you're fired. Now, I also want to tell you this. You know, you might think this is BS or not, and it doesn't really mean that much, really. It might mean a little bit. I know, like I seem to have gravitated when I was doing accounting to working with more aggressive people, entrepreneur types, usually Jewish. And I've always leaned kind of Jewish, you know, but like real Jewish, not the Soros variety, okay? You know, don't get all bent out of shape. But I knew that my great-grandfather was the illegitimate son of Duke Albert Edward. But then I never knew that Duke Albert Edward, this is how stupid I am because I'm an American, right? I didn't realize that Duke Albert Edward became Edward VII. And when I looked up, you know, things like my great-grandfather and his wife, who was Italian, he was trying to get in with them when Queen Victoria died. I actually saw his name on a UK census in March 1901. He was over in England at that time. Of course, he was illegitimate, so it was like, get lost, bub, you're out of here. Because Edward actually was known as the Playboy Prince and, I don't know, a couple other things. You know, he's had illegitimate kids, but none of them were acknowledged by the royal family. Be that as it may, it's probably true, you know. But I did not know, till recently, from Lord Greg Hallett, research from the archives that came out in 2010, that the actual father of Edward was Lionel Nathan Rothschild, which would make Lionel Nathan Rothschild my third great-grandfather. Now, I don't want to reveal a lot of stuff about my family, but I've actually got some of this from my mother, who knows she's the one that only knows some of this stuff. And she didn't really want to tell me it, but then she started to say things, and then I did other things. I did a lot of other research. I determined from other records. But also the family stories that aren't in the records. I don't want to reveal those, but it probably is true that, not just from a money angle, but my third great-grandfather probably was Lionel Nathan Rothschild. That doesn't mean like I'm a Rothschild, but I might have a grain of that DNA in me. So just be that as it may. And also, Bill Clinton is supposed to be related to Edward too. He's probably my distant cousin. So, you know, don't kill me for this stuff, okay? Because, you know, I mean, I could probably get along with this guy personally, to tell you the truth. I don't get along with him politically, okay? But then again, I don't think this guy even has any political anchors. He's kind of like, I go along with the flow with whatever way the money wants me to go. That's really what Bill Clinton is, you know, to tell you the truth. Nowhere near as bad as his wife. Nowhere near. But I'm bringing this up because I just want to state, you know, when I mentioned that thing about the Vietnam War that we actually did meet what we were accomplished to do, because what was trying to be accomplished by the real powers that orchestrated the war was to be a psychological blow against the middle class. That you can't contain communism, no matter how hard you try. That's why the war was fought by the Americans with the one hand tied behind their back with the stupid rules of engagement. And, you know, also how we, you know, even though we won every battle when we left, you know, everything looked good. There was a lot of things that the South, it was, you know, I don't even want to get down all that rabbit trail, but the thing is, the entire goal of that war was not just to make money off of it, but it was to actually provide a psychological blow to the Americans that believe in limited government and fighting totalitarianism, communism. Now, I want to say this too. You know, even though this is a silver video, there's really, you know, when it comes down to, like, you know, far left, far right, you know, they got the Nazis, the communists, the freaking fascists, you know, whatever the hell. You see ones on the right. You know, I'll tell you what, if you got a king, you don't have one guy in power. You got him, and you got a bunch of people around him. Vladimir Putin, you know, he's a president, quote unquote. He's a dictator, but maybe not as bad as Bill's wife. I could tell you that for sure. But you look at Vladimir Putin. He's got a bunch of people around him. Today, I tell you this, actually, ever since the war between the states, or the attempted South's war for independence, we've actually been we've morphed into an empire. We've morphed into an oligarchy, a financial oligarchy, but ruled by a few elitists. That's really what it is in the United States. Like when you vote, you're voting for a guy that's been put up by a lot of money. You're not going to get a people's candidate. Trump is a little bit better, I think, than a lot of people. He definitely is. But whether he's consciously aware of this or not, I think MAGA, Make America Great, is a total psyop. It's sort of like, how America was get behind fighting communism. And then all of a sudden we're fighting this war for 10 years and it didn't work out, right? That was deliberately planned like that. So I think what's going on is, like, right now you're seeing the markets come down as a psychological blow to MAGA, which is going to actually traditionally, a first-term president, the first midterm of the first term of president, usually the opposition party gains ground. Now, if you add in a market coming down in October, it's perfect timing. It's a perfect storm. And you might have a load of people. Then you're going to pack the House of Representatives and Senate with a bunch of people against Donald. And you know what? I personally, you're going to say this is really out there, but if Hillary Clinton could stay healthy, not that I want her to freaking be president, but if she, I don't know what the heck's, I don't know what's the matter with this lady. I know she's a witch, literally, but if she took a bunch of vitamins, which I'm not trying to help her out here or nothing, but like, I gotta tell you, like, honestly, with people that are really powerful, the problem with them, and this is why they don't know some of the stuff I know, the problem with a lot of people who are very powerful, they get surrounded by what we call the big BBB BS, the big bucks BS, and the BBBS, excuse me, the big bucks BS. And what you have is high dollar professionals that want to make the most money they can from their client, who's the big bucks guy that's paying them his salary. So they're not going to recommend to them, $50 worth of vitamins to get better. They're going to give them all this high-tech, high-dollar pharmaceutical garbage that doesn't really help that much. That's why a lot of times these people aren't, some of these, you'll see, like, it's amazing some of the people that died from, the founder of Apple and all that type of stuff. They shouldn't have died, if they should have been living decades longer. But, they're insulated from the real truth because they got the BBBS around them. That's the case with, a lot of people. I don't know about Soros, man. I think Soros is going to live to be over 100 years old, unfortunately. And, he's going to, him and, was it Gillum and Stacey, it was Andrew Gillum and Stacey Adams. Andrew Gillum, he's back in Andrew Gillum in Florida, and Stacey Adams in Georgia. Him together with Soros's money is going to do for the black people in Georgia and Florida what the Clintons and Soros did to the Haitians. But unfortunately, what's going on? Nobody is listening to what Malcolm X used to say. Not that I'm a 100% fan of Malcolm X, but I tell you what, I think Malcolm X was one of the most legitimate black leaders going. Not that he was 100%, well, there's stuff about him I don't like, but you know what? I think in his heart, he was really coming from his heart, And I think most of his stuff, he was attuned to finding out what's going on. But I'm very attuned to finding out. I know what's going on. I got someone that LNR DNA, LNR. I got some of that. I really do. And I'll tell you also about guys like Soros or even Warren Buffett or whatever. These guys get inside information. They're not. They don't just. They're not just really super smart and analytical, and they use computers. They can figure out what's going on. No, 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 no. They got inside information. That's really, the world of finance is really how you control everything. These guys do have inside information. Don't think for a minute this guy's a super genius. He is very smart, but that's not the whole case. That's not the whole case. He is the owner of the casino. He's hooked in with the owners of the casino. Let me put it this way. But let me say that when we start seeing the unraveling, just remember, because I don't want this to be a psychological blow to people. I suspect that MAGA is a psyop. Okay, I really do. Okay, I just think it's like, I was never one of these people that walk around with a red hat that says MAGA. Oh, okay, I did have a Trump sign in my yard, but somebody gave that to me. I didn't even seek that. I voted for Trump because obviously I wasn't going to vote for Hillary in her witchcraft bag and crazy. Bill, you should have went with the Energizer Bunny, man, and got rid of. You could have put the Energizer Bunny up, if you know what I mean. I really somehow, Bill Clinton aggravates the crap out of me with a lot of political stuff, but somehow I don't hate that guy. I don't know why the hell that is. I can tell you that right now. I don't know why the hell that is. But if you're gonna hate me for that, just remember, Trump has been running buddies with Bill Clinton for decades before he was ever, talking about seriously running for president. Then all of a sudden they're big enemies, right? But you notice nothing happened to Hillary yet, right? But we got this thing in the internet. Oh, they're going to come out with, they're going to get him. But, who the hell even Trump and Soros were partners. Now, I'll tell you the truth, the guy I worked for before I was in the Marine Corps was Stern family. I used to talk with Max Stern when he was alive. As a matter of fact, it was weird that the day I went and joined the Marine Corps was the day that Max Stern died. I used to talk to Leonard Stern's father. The Stern family was competitors with Trump. They're Jewish, but I consider them honorable Jewish. Truly, people have built and constructed, some of the best buildings in the New York, New Jersey metro area. Giant Stadium, New Jersey Meadowlands racetrack. I think part of the Port Authority. You can't paint the broad brush. I don't know what the deal is. Soros, I can't figure him out, man. I don't understand him. I know he's an enemy of Israel and that he's an enemy of Russia. Putin declared him an enemy. Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, declared Soros an enemy. So you got to figure, where's his friends at? His friends are not here in not in the population of the United States, but basically the entrenched oligarchy in the United States. It really runs the show. That's where his friends are. It's right here. Soros. So you're not going to see nothing happen to him over here, that's for sure. Like he's committing a crime by doing this to the markets or something. Nothing's going to happen to this guy. Nothing. But I want you to be psychologically prepared that, MAGA is just going to it's not going to happen. I don't think it is. Despite, they're going to say, because we had a trade war with China. Well, I just think all this stuff's been in the cards for years. It's going to be sitting in Trump's lap, and then you're going to see if she's still, can walk up the stairs. Hillary, I don't know if they're going to put her up for freaking election again, though, because she's got too much baggage. But somebody like her. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was her. It wouldn't surprise me. They put her up against freaking Trump. All they got to do is crash the hell out of the economy. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say that you don't hate me because I'm saying I'm not being pro Bill Clinton here, but I'm saying is Bill Clinton was 1,000 times smarter than John Podesta with the campaign management of Hillary Clinton. Except Bill Clinton wasn't managing her campaign. John Podesta screwed up Hillary Clinton's campaign. Bill Clinton told his wife and John Podesta to concentrate on the economy as the main issue. That election, I think it was rigged too in her favor, but she would have got enough to win if she listened to her husband. There's no doubt about it. I'm 100% sure of this. I'm 100%. But you know what's coming up in the future? The economy is going to go south. The rug is going to get pulled out from underneath the bottom of Trump and MAGA. Not by him, maybe, but by, I don't know if he's part of this or he's part of the grand scheme, but I think this is how it's going to play out. And then, you know, that one thing that Bill Clinton said, the economy should be the cornerstone of Hillary's election bid. That's what's going to come about in the 2020 election. As a matter of fact, you're going to probably start seeing it right here real soon, right now, before the November elections, because I think the markets are just beginning to roll over. You see what I'm saying? Don't get pissed off at me, because I'm trying to give you the reality of the situation here. Don't let this be a psychological blow to you, and don't, you're just going to have to deal in hard acid goods. And the reality of the situation is, what I've talked about, there's some of those changes, many of those changes in the Confederate Constitution is why the elite hate anything that's Confederate symbols and everything, because it has to do with not just, the history of what happened in 1861, it's 1865, but it was really about limited government. In other words, putting the brakes on the financial oligarchs and robber barons that use the government, to help their entrepreneurial endeavors, whether it's by appropriations of money that will be coming in on the revenue stream on their side of their books, or whether it's by regulatory acts that stifle competition that would cause competition to them in their own monopolistic rackets. Like, honestly, with Bill Clinton, if the nation got strong on the bottom, where the people were, very staunch, hands-on, stoic, ideal in reality, virtue, honor, integrity, hard work, loyalty, industriousness, Bill Clinton would play right into that. He's a chameleon and a half, man. I'm telling you that right now. I kind of know what this guy's about. I mean, I really don't hate him, but he's just that's what he is. He's just a guy that wants to be popular, but he ain't stupid, man. And I don't want to make this like you're going to get all mad at me because I'm praising Bill Clinton too much, because I know my audience doesn't like Bill Clinton, but he's not stupid. He's not stupid. And he is 1,000 times better than his wife. I'll guarantee you that. If she got to be office in 2020, because the economy went south, you're going to see that will be the end of the United States. It'll be done. As we know it. It's going to be done. So, but I'm going to tell you honestly, I said this word honestly so many times already, but even the people at YouTube and Google don't believe a lot of the garbage that they force us not to say. Because I'll give you an example. How on YouTube, like, you really can't put out videos knocking global warming that much. Maybe they'll demonetize it or something. Even though Al Gore bought a beachfront property in California. Where Google YouTube's headquarters is? It's on Amphitheater Parkway, right on the San Mateo Bay, right near the bay, very close to the bay, very close to the ocean. And the road it's on, Amphitheater Parkway, is at 0 feet elevation above sea level. So, they're not worried about the rising oceans. You know what I'm saying? That's their whole headquarters. They should be up in the Sierra Nevada of California if they're worried about the rising oceans. They don't even believe it. That's a scam just to freaking push for the carbon tax. That's all that garbage is. It's really what it's about, man. So, but I'm pretty astute on, reading these type of people. And I could tell you that before I found out, this Lord Greg Hallett stuff. It's kind of weird that I always gravitated to Jewish. Now, I don't think I would like to work for freaking, um, you know, Soros or anything like that. But Sam Zell, I probably would like working for him. He's a good guy. He's a very good Jewish man, businessman. Just Sam Zell. Um, uh, but he's a guy that's really like pro-American. And a matter of fact, Trump would have never got elected if it wasn't for Jewish support in the business community, especially, and in Hollywood. Believe it or not. That's why, you anti-Semites out there, you gotta differentiate between people like Soros and other people. God, Soros is not Soros. I can't believe I don't understand this guy. Where the hell he's an atheist. It's what he admits he's an atheist. So he's about as far away. He's 180 degrees opposed to any rabbi. That's for sure. So, but the thing is, I'm pretty astute on seeing some of these things, and I've actually leaned Jewish well before I knew about this research from Greg Hallett and the Rothschild being the actual father of Edward, who was the father of my great-grandfather. I don't want to mention his name. My great-grandfather was actually half Italian, half English. And I did check out even my mother's DNA. She has the right amount of English. She does have some East European and Jewish. I'm wondering what, that would fit in with the Rothschild stuff too. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not like I can't prove it with anything else, but there's a lot of different things that I really can't mention on here that probably prove it. But what does that really mean? Somebody was my third great grandfather. Maybe I have a little bit of that. It seems like there's a few members of my family along the line that seem to have a little bit of that. They were very shrewd. But me, I'm just a very down-to-earth guy. I mean, I also have a lot of. From my father's side, I have the Sons of the American Revolution and the Confederate heritage. So, but I personally think Jewish people, when you get down to real Jewish people, they're very, very, very honorable, and they're going to actually be the people that are going to save this earth from global catastrophe. Believe it or not. Soros is their mortal enemy, just as Netanyahu has said and Israel has stated, and also even Putin in Russia. So, and unfortunately, I think if Hillary if somebody like her or she becomes president in 2020, if you were talking about draining the swamp, what's going to drain the swamp all at once? Vladimir Putin and Russia, because she is going to probably start it, and that's going to be the end of it. That may be the case. Right now, I'm just hanging loose like, Snoopy, Snoopy and the Red Baron, whatever. I'm kind of, I don't know which way, what's going on exactly right now, for sure. I suspect it's going to play out this way. I could be 100% wrong. But usually my senses are pretty good. Sometimes sometimes I think too far ahead, and I'm thinking it's coming right down the pike. But usually my senses are pretty good. And also, just because an oligarchy wants something to happen, it might not happen as fast as they want it to happen, but eventually they get their way. I think we're going to have major conflicts in the Middle East. That's really going to drive the oil prices up to $200 a barrel, at least at one peak point. That's when silver is going to explode to some ungodly amount, probably well past the $75 an ounce. I've been thinking probably maybe over 100. And what do you do from there? Maybe buy real estate, or maybe buy yourself an old classic Harley Panhead. Ooh, that would be nice. And a Panhead Mama to go on it. So anyway, over and out. Talked a long time. And I want to give you different angles from different things, because just remember also about those changes to the Confederate Constitution. That is really why, that's why they're tearing down the statues. That's why Soros hates that, because when you put the limits on the spending of government and what the government can do for the oligarchs in big business, and special people in big business with the tax money, and there's full transparency in government, full transparency, and there's not a bunch of compromised deals with omnibus spending bills, guess what? You greatly curtailed, you know, how the oligarchs can freaking manipulate that big vacuum cleaner of money called the U.S. government and use it for their own benefit. And they don't like that. See, there's really only two types of government. Government by a few elitists or an oligarchy. Because communists, there's an oligarchy. Nazis, there's an oligarchy. Monopolistic capitalists, there's an oligarchy. When there's kings, there's an oligarchy. There's always not just one guy. There's a small elite group. What you really want is a system of laws and principles with a small government. Its full function is to protect the rights of each and every single individual. Not various groups of individuals and one going against the other. Every single individual. Everybody's equal in the eyes of the law. That's the kind of government you want. And you don't need a lot of money to run that kind of government. Anyway, over and out. And been long, and in fact went on some of the Blake issues. But I want you to see, because I want you to be psychologically prepared, because I may be wrong, but I got a very strong suspicion that MAGA, Make America Great, is going to be a major psyop to the people that got headlong behind Trump. Maybe he's not part of the plan. Maybe he's just being used. I don't know. But I think that's the overall plan that's going to be happening. So just be prepared for it psychologically, because you know the people are against Trump and say, "See, he ruined the economy." The economy was already freaking ruined. We're in debt for like decades now, and getting worse and worse and worse. You can't fix it until overnight, and government can't fix the economy. Actually, what I think is going to happen is that when everything goes under, they're going to restructure everything financially into a global financial system, which basically is going to be the government. That's what Soros is looking to do. He's one of the guys. At least he's the visible guy. I mean, I don't know. He's not the only guy involved. There's loads of people you don't even know who their names are. Anyway, over and out.